Hello, everyone, and welcome to this to this seller-focused webinar on Feng Shui for real estate with consultant Claire Englebert. Before we begin, I just want to let you know that we will have some brief time for questions. So use the Ask a Question module down at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions you might have or to upvote a question already there that you would like to see answered. And without any further ado, here is Claire Englebert.
Welcome. This is the second of 3 webinars that Watermark Publishing is presenting based on my new book, Feng Shui for Real Estate. It's the Feng Shui principles for selling real estate quickly, harmoniously, and for the best price possible. It's especially for owners who are living in the place that's for sale. The one thing that's very important to know is that our life force and our energy is affected by the objects around us. It's as if every object has a voice. And when a potential buyer is looking at a home, they are very sort of super sensitive to those voices. Your whole house is saying, what you behold is what you will become. And especially if you've lived in the house for decades, you'll need to make a mental adjustment inside your head that it is no longer your house, that the home you live in. It is now a box on the shelf that potential buyers are comparing with other boxes on the shelf. And the first topic we'll get to is staging. And you've probably all heard of staging from a point of view of just getting a place ready for sale. And the things that I'll be pointing out certainly relate to just simply making the home very beautiful and logical. And they also are coming at the issues from a Feng Shui perspective. What you want to try to do is make the home look as perfect as possible. And if you realize that perfection just cannot be achieved, you still keep it as your goal. The one very important Feng Shui principle that we'll be referring to over and over again is that of yin and yang. And when you're selling a home, you want something very yang to happen. You want large sums of money to change hands. You want the title to change. These are very active yang things. So that's what we'll be emphasizing throughout this discussion of staging. And I'd like to go over what things are yin and what things are yang. And I'll just list first the yang thing, then the yin thing. Clean, dirty, uncluttered, cluttered, simple, complex, fast, slow, active, dead. No, alive, dead. Active, passive, spacious, cozy, light, dark, vertical, horizontal, awake, asleep, moving, stagnant. We will start outside, because that's where the potential buyers will be starting from. And it's a well-known principle in design that first impressions are 90% of lasting impressions. And in real estate, it's commonly known as well that when people drive up to a home and they look at it for the first time, right then and there, very quickly, they have made up their mind. Could they picture themselves living there or not? And then they'll spend the next 20 minutes or so that they're looking through the house, confirming the decision that they just made out at your curb. So what it looks like outside is super important. Unless you're selling a condo, you've got to have that curb appeal going right from the very get-go. The exterior of the house right outside the front door, that area is called the Ming Tang. It means bright hall, and it should be very welcoming, and there should be nothing at all that looks even slightly wrong with the area. If anything is saying like it is in need of repair, you've got to be the one to notice that and fix it before potential buyers start coming around. If the whole house is in need of a paint job, do it. You really must. And may I suggest the color yellow, because from a real estate point of view, it sells more colors it sells more houses than any other exterior color. And from a Feng Shui point of view, it is the color of happiness, and it's a gathering color. So it says that people will be happy there and friends will come over. The front door is so important. It needs to be obvious, and that itself should be obvious, but sometimes you get to a house and you don't really see the front door first thing. So if that's the case in your home, you need to make it obvious so that when someone gets out of their car, starts walking toward the house, they know which side of the house the door is going to be on. You do it through signage or through sidewalk. You might, the thing you don't want to do, however, is to put in your signage, to put something like the Smiths. You don't want to put your family name out there anywhere, because that keeps you more stuck in the house. Now look at the two little pictures that are on the left, and these are stairs that are going up to some people's front doors. The stairs on the left have risers. That's the piece of wood that your toe points toward when you're walking up the stairs. The treads are what you see in the second picture, and there's no risers. And as someone is walking up, they can actually see through the stairs to that space behind them. And you really don't want people looking there. There's nothing particularly attractive about that. Plus, from a Feng Shui point of view, you're missing a huge amount of energy, because energy slides through there and doesn't get escorted all the way up. The picture that's most to the left, those gray stairs, because they have risers, the energy is escorted all the way up to the front door. So if your front stairs going up don't have risers, you really do need to put them on. So next we'll talk about neighboring buildings outside. And there could be some situations where you've got neighbors that aren't considered Feng Shui friendly. And that would be the case of having a cemetery really close by, a mortuary or a church that has funerals, or a very sharp steeple, a fire station or a police station. All of those are just not appropriate for being close to a residence. For the police and fire stations, we're very grateful to have first responders, but if they are too close to your home, you're going to be hearing sirens a lot, and that's really disturbing for the energy of the home. It brings a feeling of chaos and emergency. As far as the cemeteries and mortuaries and that sort of thing go, the concern is with stagnant energy, because these are places where dead bodies are brought to. And it also could be a case of wandering spirits. So if any of those are your close neighbors, somewhere outside, you need to put a little mirror. And if the place wasn't for sale, I'd recommend that you use a bagua mirror. But you don't use bagua mirrors in a place that's for sale. They look oddball, and they signal to the potential buyer that something is wrong with this place, and they start looking around at what's wrong. So what you'd use in this case would just be a small mirror around the size of a dime that you get in a craft store, and you place it discreetly where it is not noticed, and you point it right at the problem and say out loud, purpose of this mirror is to reflect away the energy of such and such, like the cemetery or something like that. Now, in the drawing, what you'll see is a different kind of neighboring problem, and that's where a neighboring building, and it could even be on your own property, but it might be another neighbor's home, where the right angle of that building is aimed toward your home, and that's called a poison arrow. And you would need to put a small mirror on your home, once again discreetly pointed at that angle, and say out loud, this is to push back the energy of the shape of that building. Now we'll move to the interior, and the thing you want for an interior is so much beauty that when a potential buyer walks in, they practically faint. And the first words out of their mouth are, I'll take it. Or even better, I'll pay more. So you may not get that, but that's your goal. That's what you want to keep trying for. And if you get the home looking so good that you start having second thoughts about it, like, gosh, this is so much nicer than it's ever looked when we've lived here. This is so nice that I'm not sure we should even sell it. That's when you're going to get your best price, and that's when you're going to get your offers coming in. So that's what you're aiming for. Now, the one scenario could be that there is no furniture at all. The place is empty. And that's a pretty bad scenario, because the message that sends is nobody lives here. Why should you? Empty. That's really the one big word that echoes in people's heads when they step into a place that is totally empty. And you're asking too much of them. Just because they've got deep pockets doesn't mean they have a vivid imagination as far as interior design goes. And they may be walking around wondering, well, where would we put the couch? And where would we put the bed or the TV? These things. Make that obvious for them. Put the furniture in. You don't need a lot of it, but you do need some furniture. Having absolutely nothing is getting off to a very poor start. The only thing that I could think of that would definitely be worse than that is if you've got too much, like too much furniture, too much clutter, too much of anything. That's going to make the home seem too small. And you really want your home, whatever size it is, to seem spacious. So if you've got clutter, you need to start packing right now and put it in boxes. If it's not things that you know for sure you can just let go of, you don't spend a lot of time trying to make those decisions. Just pack them up, label them real nicely, and preferably store the boxes off-site. If you cannot store them off-site, then put them in the garage or some spare room, very neatly stacked. And when the potential buyers open the door to that room and they see all those boxes packed and ready, it might make them a little nervous, like, oh, these people are really ready to move out. They're expecting a quick sale. I better put my offer in right now. So don't have clutter. It's just going to stop your sale or slow it down. The phrase that I use is that clutter stops everything. Another thing you want to be cautious of is having the place seem kind of personal, like it's your place. Remember, I mentioned outside you shouldn't have a sign that says the Smiths or something like that. Well, inside, you shouldn't have pictures of yourself or your family. You shouldn't show awards, or also you shouldn't have quirky artwork, even if it's very expensive. If it looks quirky, put it away. Don't have it on display. And the same is true of amateur artwork. Now, here's something that is super important. Don't have items on display that are religious, political, or those little signs that have like affirmative messages on them, have a good day and that kind of thing. You're not trying to make converts, and really the only words you want going through the potential buyers' heads are not these little words that be reading on a wall from little signs you bought in some shop. You want the words going through their head to be, I can picture myself here. I like this. I think we should buy this. Those kinds of words, not other words that are just on little signs around your home. Another thing that can actually count as clutter is decorative pillows. They have no place whatsoever in a home that is for sale. The only pillows that should be on furniture, chairs, couches, window seats, beds, are the pillows that came with the furniture. And for a bed, it should just be the pillows that you actually use to sleep with at night. Because the purpose of decorative pillows in interior decorating is to make a place seem cozier. And that's exactly what is shown in this picture, is a very cozy situation. But you don't want cozy in a place that's for sale. You want spacious. So just get rid of those decorative pillows. They don't have a place. And while we've still got this picture up, I do want to make the remark that these decorative pillows have, someone went around last thing before the picture got taken, and they gave every pillow a little karate chop, that little dent in the top of the pillow. And I'm hoping that fad is fading away. It seems to be, but it just makes a situation that's too yin even more yin, and it looks passé. So just don't do that. Don't have the decorative pillows, and definitely don't give them a karate chop. All right, so the next thing is your closets and your cupboards. Don't have them too full. They're going to look like to the potential buyers that you don't have enough closet space. That's once again signaling that the home is too small. They need to pass on it and get someplace with more closets. So the clothes that are hanging up need to look extremely neat. I'd probably use matching hangers. And as far as the cupboards go in the pantry and that kind of thing, when someone opens up the cupboard doors, which they will do if they're thinking seriously about buying it, what they need to see should look so neat. It looks as if someone from a food store came and did your stocking for you, that put the items there all very neatly placed with their labels faced to the front, nothing helter-skelter at all. Because what that is going to convey to the potential buyer subconsciously is that these people are very organized. If I live here, I will be organized too. Let's talk about color. I love color, and I often recommend it a lot that people paint rooms colors that they love and maybe use an accent wall and that kind of thing. But I never, ever do that when a place is for sale, because color is very individual. And if someone is looking at a blue wall, a color that you love a lot, and blue is not their favorite color, they're trying to erase that color in their mind and look at the home without that color. And you're really disadvantaging your sale and slowing it down if you have bold colors inside the home. The very best colors inside the home when it's for sale are pretty neutral colors, favoring something like off-white. I never ever recommend that someone paint the walls the kind of white that you just buy off the shelf in the paint store. It's fine to use that kind of just stark white on the trim, but not for the walls themselves. I had a client in San Francisco recently talk to me about getting her home ready for sale, and I had consulted with her when she bought the home decades ago. And she was really pleased with the colors, and she said, oh, I'm going to have to just paint them some boring white. And I said, well, I think you need to change your attitude, because you don't want a boring color. You want a color that you love. And there's thousands, and maybe not thousands, but there's hundreds of different off-whites. So you look from the paint chips at a paint store and you select an off-white that you really like, that you feel like looks good in your home and you like the feeling of it. And that's the kind of color that you go for. And another place that color can be real useful is if you want to bring out architectural detail. There you might use colors that, while still neutral, that have a little more pizzazz, a little more say something, because if you bring out the architectural detail in your home through paint, and usually through paint, it makes the home look smarter. That's just how it is. It's gonna make your home look better and smarter. It's going to really show it off at its absolute best. If you think that you don't really recognize architectural detail, then you might want to get a friend or a professional to come and give you some advice on that. And don't assume that architectural detail is only going to be in homes that are very old, like 100 years old. Nope. There's lots of architectural detail in homes that are classified as mid-century, between the 1950s and the 1970s. And also, even in homes that were built even 20 years ago, there could be some excellent architectural detail that it's worth picking out to make the home simply look better. The next issue would be dark places in a home, and you don't want those, not when it's for sale. Dark places seem a little creepy, and they harbor stagnant energy from a Feng Shui point of view. So they need to be lit well, and if the air seems stagnant there, you need to keep a fan going. Put the fan away when it's actually you're having a walkthrough and people are looking at it, but keep those areas more brightly lit so that none of the areas feel just kind of dark and kind of not inviting. Another situation could be if you've got long hallways. In Feng Shui, it's considered that long hallways conduct energy like a rifle barrel. The energy goes too quickly. And to correct that, the solutions would be to make that hallway interesting so that someone wants to linger as they're going down the hall. And that can be done through rugs possibly not one long runner, but various rugs on the hallway that are placed very securely so there's no possibility of them slipping, and artwork that has lighting that spotlights it so that it seems kind of like an art gallery. And it would be great if that artwork is rather tactile. If there are pictures, then it would be best if they didn't have glazing, if they didn't have glass over them where someone can feel close to the picture, or if there were wall ornaments that someone is tempted to just stop and touch that thing on the wall. The next situation is a real problem. It's an interior bathroom, and all bathrooms, mostly these days, are interior, but this one would be one that is referred to more as central, and that doesn't mean that it needs to be in the exact center of the home. What it's referring to is that its walls don't touch an outside wall. The healthiest bathrooms have windows that can open to the outside so fresh air can come into the room. If you've got a bathroom that you could be in your home on all four sides outside of that bathroom, then that counts as an interior bathroom. And the standard fixes in Feng Shui start with hanging a bagua mirror above the bathroom door outside the bathroom. But like I said, you cannot use bagua mirrors when a place is for sale. But what you could do is use a regular mirror somewhere that looked logical on the outside wall of the bathroom. And what you would say out loud is, the purpose of this mirror is to push energy away from going into this bathroom. You would keep the door closed, especially during walkthroughs. And there's something I want to point out in the picture here that's to the right, and that's about how they've got the shower curtain drawn. They've got it drawn so that you do not see the drain itself. You see the spaciousness of the bathroom because you see all the way to the far wall of the tub shower, but you don't see the drain. And they've got the lid of the toilet down, and that improves the energy of any bathroom. Walking into a bathroom with the lid of the toilet up, that the energy is never as good as it is when the lid is down. Now, the next slide is talking about drains themselves and what they symbolize in Feng Shui is good fortune going down the drain, because water symbolizes money and good fortune in Feng Shui, and drains are where water leaves your home. So if possible, you want to have the drains covered in a logical way. Sink drains, you would just make sure those little closers are sitting in the drain, that they're not just completely open like is in this picture here. And other drains, I wouldn't be concerned so much about the bathroom sink drains if they have those little, usually kind of chrome lids that pop up a little bit and pop down. Those hide enough of the drain that you don't really have to be concerned. They don't need to be pulled all the way down. But you do want your toilet lid down, and if you can pull the shower curtain like before, that's a terrifically good idea. The next thing we'll cover is living plants in a home. If you can have living houseplants in your home, even if you don't usually have them when you live there, all the time that you've lived there, it's worthwhile to get some and make them look very healthy, logically placed in the home when it's for sale, because they give the home life, real, genuine life. Something is living there. And that says thriving to the potential buyer, that they themselves could thrive if they move into that home. What you really do not want is dried plants, because they say dead and stagnant. So no dried plants at all in a home that's for sale. What you can have, if you aren't going to have real live plants, is you can have nice artificial plants, as long as they're clean and they are arranged so they look very alive. Now we'll talk about pets. And you may love them, but the potential buyer may be allergic to them. So when a place is being shown, there should be no pets at all inside the home. There shouldn't be any litter boxes or pet feeding bowls, anything related to the pet, not their bedding or anything. That should all be gone from the home. And if the pet is well behaved, it could be outside. That would be fine, but definitely not inside the home. And any odor that's related to the pet, you want to watch out for that. You may have gotten used to it, so you might want to get a friend or a neighbor to come over and give your place the sniff test to be sure that they can't still smell that pet there. And that brings us to the topic of odors in general. You really don't want any kind of unpleasant or oddball odor in a place that is for sale. You want it to smell just simply fresh. Some people bake a cake, a spice cake or a chocolate cake or something like that. That's fine. That kind of odor is just fine in a place. But fresh air is also just fine. There just should not be any kind of odor. And I'll also mention that you shouldn't have ashtrays sitting out, because it's going to make people suspicious. They're going to go over to the drapery and sniff it to see if the home smells like the home of a smoker. Don't try to mask odors with an aerosol spray. You want real, genuine, fresh air, or, like I said, something that is authentic, such as some recently baked bread or something like that. Now, let's talk about things that might be broken, because they are definitely going to slow down a sale. Broken things are about as yin as you get, because they're on their way to being just an unuseful item. So you need to repair anything that is broken, unless you want to get disappointing offers, because that is what's going to happen. If people come in and see things that are obviously broken or in ill repair, you're going to get offers that are lower than you want. So repair absolutely everything that you can. Start now if there's a lot to be repaired, and don't stop until it looks just about as perfect as you can get it. If there are things that you cannot fix, you can do a Feng Shui symbolic fix, which is in some very discreet place on the broken object, you would touch the tiniest dot of red, like almost a microscopic dot of red fingernail polish, that kind of thing. And you would say out loud, the purpose of this red dot is to symbolize that the object is now repaired. It is no longer fixed. The situation is complete, and there's no repair needed. But I will say that's something that works fine when you're living in the home. But when the home is for sale, that kind of remedy is not going to work as well, because people are still, if it's obviously broken, they're still going to notice it, and it's going to bring your price down. This next thing is pretty small, but it's very important because it concerns the electric system of your home. When a professional has finished working with your electric system, they will leave the switch plate screws, or the screws that hold on the outlets. They'll leave those screws almost always directly up and down. That little groove in the screw just goes up and down. There are some homes where they are set horizontally, and if that's fine, don't go change them all to up and down, but they do need to be all the same way. You'll see in this picture, they're kind of helter-skelter, and you just can't do that, because subconsciously what the potential buyer is seeing is that somebody who's not a professional has been monkeying with the electrical system of this home. So set the screws perfectly throughout the house on all the switch plates and the sockets. There are some that don't have any screws visible, some high-end covers like Lutron and that sort of thing, and you don't have that problem to deal with. But in most cases, the switch plate screws are visible. The paint should not be chipped. It should look really good. If the paint is chipped on those screws, you just need to go to the hardware store and get a matching screw that matches the switch plate or the outlet cover. Now we're going to change topics. We've been talking about things that pretty much relate to common sense. And here, this no longer really relates to common sense because it's a Chinese construction. It's what's called the Feng Shui Bagua. And it's a grid of 9 spaces that lies down over the floor plan of a home. And it's based originally on a yin-yang symbol. And that would be using the 2 elements of fire and water. But this Bagua uses all 5 elements, wood, earth, and metal as well. And you end up with these 8 areas around the outside and 1 area in the center. And when I first came to Feng Shui, I found out about the Bagua, and it didn't make real good logical sense to me. Nobody explained that it originated with the yin-yang, and I just was confronted with something that I didn't understand, but there were these rules that you were supposed to follow. And so I thought, well, I'll play with it like a game. I'll just follow the rules and see what happens. And my jaw dropped. Over and over again, my jaw has dropped because the results of using the Bagua have been so profound for myself and my clients that I continue to use it. And what we're going to do next is talk about certain areas of the Bagua that are very important during a real estate sale. And the first would be the Fortunate Blessings Corner, which is commonly called the Wealth Corner. It's the far left corner as you walk into your home. You haven't changed any direction. You've just walked in the front door, and it would be the very far left corner. And the things that are appropriate there would be expensive things. That's really very important. They don't even have to look expensive, but having things there that you actually paid a good bit of money for, even if they're tucked away in a drawer or something, that is a real energetic boost to that area. The color purple is an ideal color there, as well as blue, green, and red. But once again, you don't pull out the paintbrush when the place is for sale. You would just have those as accent colors in something in the room there. Everything in that corner should be in good repair and should look absolutely neat as a pin. There could be a chance that the wealth corner is missing, in which case you're at a big disadvantage. That's when I tell clients don't even buy that home, when the wealth corner is missing. But if that's the case in your home, there are a couple of things you could do to symbolically remedy the situation, and you can do it in such ways that the potential buyer won't even see them. In this drawing to the left, you'll see point A outside the missing area. And that's where the two walls would have met up if the home had been a perfect rectangle. So what you do is, if you have access to that place outside, if it's like in your yard, you would put something valuable there. And what I've had many clients do is to just bury something valuable, like a gold coin, a diamond ring, that kind of thing, at that place in their yard that completes the wealth corner. And what you'd say out loud is that this does indeed complete the wealth corner, that you have drawn your house out to that point. And you would, of course, take the expensive object away before the property changed hands. The drawing to the right shows something that you can do inside the home, and that is putting up mirrors that the reflective part is facing toward the inside of the home, and it's on the walls that are tangent to the missing area. Those mirrors can be small. They can be the size of a dime, and you can hide them behind pictures or drapery. They don't have to be visible. But you do need to say out loud that the purpose of the mirrors is to symbolically enlarge your home so that there is nothing missing. I'm going to take a moment and just explain how those mirrors actually work. If in that home you walked in and those two walls where you see the mirrors are placed, if those walls had custom cut mirrors that completely filled each of those walls, and you walked in there, it would seem like the room was indeed bigger. It would seem like that corner went on out further. But doing that in most people's homes is not feasible and necessarily desirable. You can get the same good result if you put the small mirrors in, as long as you say out loud what your purpose is for doing that. The next slide will show what someone has done in their wealth corner, which is a terrific idea. They've got a lady palm, which is the rhapis palm, planted there in a very heavy pot. It all looks really good. They've got the sphagnum moss put around it. The palm is big, but it doesn't touch the ceiling. If houseplants touch the ceiling, they say you've reached your limit. The thing to know about lady palms is that they are about the most expensive interior palm that you can get. I've had clients that I've recommended that they grow them because they're terribly easy to grow. They're just not really fast growing. And they've said, well, I actually ended up buying a different kind because the rhapis palm was too expensive. Well, that's what makes it perfect for the wealth corner, is it kind of hurts your pocketbook, and that's a great enhancement for that corner. One of the things that the palm is doing in this instance is that in this person's home, this is in a person's bedroom, and it's in the wealth corner of the bedroom. And you see the window behind the palm, but there's also, to the left of the palm, there's some big windows. And anytime you've got windows in a wealth corner, that represents the opportunity for your good fortune to leak out those windows. But the palm is more noticeable. It's big. It's also planted in a very heavy pot, lots of dirt, and that grounds the good fortune so it doesn't go sliding out the window symbolically. I had a situation once where the home was completely empty, and it wasn't selling at all. The agent called me because it was in a really nice neighborhood, and the home should have been selling, but it was just not getting offers at all. And so it had that disadvantage of being empty. And so I decided, well, we'll just work on the bagua, on the wealth corner, relationship corner, and that kind of thing, because there isn't any staging to be done. And the wealth corner in that home was in the main bedroom, and it was carpeted. And I went right to the corner, and I took my fingers and I just pinched the very corner of the carpet, and I pulled it up just a tiny little bit. And I said, do you, the owner was there, and I said, do you have something really valuable that you could just stick under this carpet until you are ready to let go of the place, and then you take it back? And he said, well, I have a ruby. I said, sir, if you're willing to put a ruby here, I predict really good things. And he did. And the place just so lickety split after that. It was almost miraculous how quick the offers started coming in after that. I was impressed myself at how quickly it sold. The next area we'll talk about is the relationship corner, and that's the far right when you've just walked in. And in that same home that was empty that I just talked about, in that corner, what I suggested to the gentleman was that he get 2 coins and put them together so that the faces of the coins were facing each other. Like we are talking, we are in negotiations. This sale is going to go through, because the relationship, when a place is for sale, the main relationship is between buyer and seller. And that's what those coins were representing. And I said, you just tuck them away someplace where they won't be noticed. And that's going to be plenty good enough. They could be pennies. They don't have to be expensive in the relationship corner. They just need to have some kind of good matching energy. If they aren't coins, the objects need to feel like they match in some kind of way. The ideal color in that area is pink, but the other colors that would be fine are white or red or yellow. And once again, don't pull out the paintbrush. Pink is not everybody's favorite color, but if it was in a bedroom, you could have pink sheets that somebody didn't even see because you had a white bedspread. So you could deal with it in that sort of way. And there can be a situation where the relationship corner is missing. And that's the same as it was with the wealth corner missing, but it's just on the other side. It's on the far right. So where the point A is on the right-hand drawing, that's where you would outside put something like the 2 coins stuck down in the ground in your lawn, symbolizing that the house was complete again, that there was nothing missing, that the 2 walls met up at that point A, and that's what you would say out loud. And at the same time, you would also put mirrors inside the house at the place where you see in the drawing to the left. And those mirrors could be hidden. They don't need to be obvious at all. The next area we'll talk about is the fame area, and that's the area on the back wall that is between the Fortunate Blessings corner and the relationship corner. It's the middle third of the back wall. The ideal color there is red. Red's a very bold color, so if you use it there, when the home is for sale, you want to use it in a very in a way that looks really nice, like maybe some red ruby glass or something like that, that just looks very becoming for the home and not awkward at all. There could be a situation where the fame area is missing. And you really don't want that, because you want everybody to be talking about your home. You want it to be the talk of the town, how much money you're expecting to get, and you'll probably get it. But not if the fame area is missing. None of that's going to happen, more than likely. And these are a couple of examples of where the fame area is missing. And the drawing on the right shows where you would put the mirrors inside the home to symbolically bring back that missing area. And once again, you would say that the mirrors are extending the home. There are some special situations that aren't necessarily everybody's situation, but they do warrant discussion. And the first one would be if someone is selling commercial property. And the most important thing is that it be clean and neat and well repaired, that there's nothing about it, that buyers aren't coming and seeing things that are in need of repair. That really is going to get you disappointing offers every time. And you just, if the place needs work, you start right now and get it in tip-top shape. There can be the situation, like we talked about before, where a neighboring building, the corner of it could be aimed toward your building. And in that case, you'll see where the small, discrete mirror is placed on the outside of your building to symbolically push away the harsh energy from the corner of that neighboring building. Now, if you've got raw land that you have up for sale, there's definitely less that you can do about it. It needs to be clean, no litter at all. And the main thing I tell people is to work on the 3 bagua areas that are in the back, the wealth corner, relationship corner, and the fame area in the middle. You would put something expensive, hidden real well so that nobody's going to find it, hidden in the far left corner, and you'd take it away before the property changed hands. In the far right corner, you'd put a couple of nice kind of matching things, like they would be a couple of coins with the faces facing each other, and you could just tuck those down into the ground. And as far as the middle area goes, that fame area, what I often recommend when it's outside is that the client get a small red glass pyramid and then just bury it down a little bit in the ground. But what that pyramid shape is representing is fire, like an angle of a flame going up. And that's saying that the reputation of the property will go up. Another special situation is pregnancy. And that's something that I, in my experience, have seen to sometimes speed up a sale and sometimes slow down a sale to the point where it's just not selling at all. And my own feeling about this is that it probably relates to the energy of the unborn child, that they might or might not want to take their first breath in the place where they were conceived. And that could be a factor. In fact, as far as I'm concerned as a consultant, if someone living in the home, if the woman is pregnant, it is going to be a factor in the sale. But I could not say if it's going to be a factor speeding it up or a factor slowing it down. I had a client that they were wanting to move to be closer to their family while she was pregnant. and the place just wasn't selling. It was in a lovely location. It was a really nice home, and they weren't even getting offers. And I said, this is kind of a bold thing to say, but you might want to take into consideration that that child might want to take its first breath right here where it was conceived. And she actually said, that makes sense to me. And they took the home off the market until the child was born, then put it back on the market. It sold really quickly, and they then made their move closer to be closer to her family. Now, sometimes there are addresses that the numbers could be considered problematic, and that would be the case where the number 4 is in the address, or if it's a condo, maybe it's on the 4th floor or something like that. And that's not a feng shui concern. That is a concern that relates to if the potential buyer has Chinese or a Chinese dialect as their first language, because the word 4 and the word death sound and look very similar in those dialects. But from a feng shui point of view, it's not a concern at all. You've got address numbers, just have them neatly and logically placed where someone can easily find your place. Energy will find you, and do not be concerned if you have the number 4 in your address. It's not a feng shui concern whatsoever. There could be troubled history where something has happened in the home to cause stagnant energy to linger. And I'll give you an example of that. Early on in my career, I was called to an older home in Oakland, California. And right at the door, the woman said, when we bought this home, I was concerned that there might be spirits lodged in it, and I called a Ghostbuster. Would you like to find out what that person found? And I said, you know what? You're not on the clock. I'm not looking at my watch at all. This is my education. I really want to know what they found. And so she took me through the home, and most of the places where spirits had lodged were in the basement. There was a fireplace in the basement that was never used, and there was a spirit lodged there. There was a tub shower in a bathroom in the basement, and nobody ever used that tub shower, and there were a couple of spirits hunkered down in there. They were in places where they wouldn't be disturbed. And what your job is as a seller is to disturb them. You want them out of there because they're stagnant energy, and they're not going to give the right vibration to your place that it is fresh and ready for the new energy of the new owners. And my favorite way to freshen up the energy of a place is using white desert sage. You can get these bundles that are often called smudging bundles, and you light them. You do it in the daytime. You have all the windows open, and you let the smoke go high and low. You go everywhere, places you do not normally go. You open every drawer, every cabinet, go under the beds, every possible place that you could even think of, high, low, everywhere. And the whole time you're doing it, you're saying out loud things like, the sage smoke is purifying this place and making it fresh and new. Any old energies must leave now. If it is a case that you feel like there are actually ghosts in the home, you might want to call somebody like a Ghostbuster or a priest. But in most situations, I feel like using white desert sage is just the ideal situation. Now, the next thing is the last thing, and I have it as the last thing because it has absolutely nothing to do with feng shui. But the reason I'm including it is because I have never known it to fail. from the first time that I used it, and that was in the San Francisco East Bay area. The woman called me to consult because they were trying to sell their home to buy a different home in Bakersfield that they had already selected. And so I went through and made all my recommendations, and she did them. And I got a call back, and she said, well, the place isn't selling. We aren't getting offers. And so I told her about the St. Joseph statue, and I had never told anybody about it. I had just recently found out about it, and I thought it was actually almost a little bit creepy, because what you do is you bury a St. Joseph statue in your front yard upside down. And as somebody who was raised Catholic, I just thought that was kind of oddball, almost like voodoo or something. But then later on, my mom, who's very devout Catholic, told me about it and said, this is just commonly used. It's it's expected that you would use this. And what happened was that even after the St. Joseph statue was put in her yard, the place still wasn't selling. But because of the delay and the place not selling, what they were able to find out is that there was structural damage in the home in Bakersfield that they had been intending to buy. And if they had gone ahead and bought it, if the place that they were living in had sold and they'd gone ahead and bought it, they would have been up a creek, because they would have bought a home with very bad structural damage, probably caused by earthquakes. So in that case, what I felt like was St. Joseph was basically watching over them. There are many websites that are selling St. Joseph statues for the purpose of selling real estate, and the instructions for doing so will come with the statue. Now, that's the last thing, but I do want to thank Watermark and Dawn Sakamoto for producing this. And I want to point out the deal that Watermark is offering on the books of mine that they publish. If you buy 2 or 3 of my Watermark books, they'll give you a 20% discount. The code is right here on this page. And if you buy all 4 of the Watermark books, they'll give you 30% off. The webinar that you've just watched, you can rewatch it as many times as you want to. I wish you great luck with selling your property. Thank you. Are there any questions?